Hello, everyone, and welcome to this part 3 of the session series on critical thinking. Our guest speaker online with us for the last 2 sessions. And again, today is Sahib Karim Khan, who is an international speaker and author, a Six Sigma certified professional. He's an expert in learning and organizational development. He's consulted for various Fortune 500 companies across UAE and Pakistan, and we are delighted to hear Sahib. We had some really good insights from Sahib over the last 2 sessions, and we're excited to what you have to share with us today. Before we get started, those of you who have had a chance to attend the last 2 sessions, you probably had taken some nuggets from both the presentations to implement right away. And if you did not catch either the first or the second session, both recordings are uploaded on the UCA YouTube channel, and they were also shared with you via the email that had the announcement, along with the PDFs of both presentations. So you could kind of refer to them at a later time as well. Last session, we had Sahib talk about 2 really useful tools, DMAC and the 6 thinking hats. And I think both those tools could easily be used not just in our professional lives, at our career, at our work, in our school, if we have some students joining in. But I think those were also very beneficial if you kind of try to use them in your personal lives as well. So having said that, I think Sahib, we are all excited to learn from you today, what you have to share.
Thank you very much, Shireen. Hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing great. Welcome to the third part of our session. Those of you who have joined us last time, let's very quickly hear from you in the chat box, my favorite chat box. So how many of you were present in the last 2 sessions? Let's hear from you in the chat box. Those of you who were present in both the sessions, just say yes in the chat box. Come on, let's hear from you. Okay. Okay, two of you were present in the last 2 sessions. Okay, that's great. So let's move forward and very quickly see the recap of the last session. So what did we cover in the last session? Very quickly, what did we cover in the last session? Can anyone share in the chat box any major learning from the last session, please, in the chat box? What was your major takeaway from the last session? Anyone? Okay, so as Shireen shared with you, we talked about 2 things in the last session. First, we talked about the DMAC part, and then we talked about 6 thinking heads. Okay, so Ulan has a comment. Different hat colors, absolutely right. Knowledge, emotions, planning, pros and cons. Okay, very good. We talked about 6 different kinds of hats, and what does these hats represent? Along with that, we also talked about DMAC, which is define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And we said that these are some of the tools that we could use to enhance our critical thinking. So taking things forward, we will be talking about some of the more tools that we can use, some of the tools, some of these strategies to help us think critically. And first thing first, let's start with design thinking. Now, what is design thinking? How does it help us in critical thinking? We'll be talking about that, but before we go into the details, let's watch a small short video on design thinking, so that those of you who have no idea what it is, let's get some of the foundational information as far as critical thinking is concerned. So can we play the video, please?
process to come up with meaningful ideas that solve real problems for a particular group of people. The process is taught in top design and business schools around the world. It has brought many businesses lots of happy customers and helped entrepreneurs from all around the world to solve problems with innovative new solutions. Step 1. Empathize. The purpose of Step 1 is to conduct interviews that give you an idea about what people really care about. We need to empathize with their situation. For example, if you want to help old people, you might find that they want to keep the ability to walk around. In your conversations, they might share with you different ways they can do that. Later into the interview, you'll want to dig a little deeper, look for personal stories or situations where things became difficult. Ideally, you redo the process with many people with the same problem. Step 2. Define the problem. Looking at the interviews, you can now understand the actual needs that people are trying to fulfill with certain activities. One way to do that is to underline the verbs or activities that the people mentioned when talking about their problems, like going for a walk, meeting old friends for tea, or simply going grocery shopping around the corner store. You might realize it's not so much about going out, but more about staying in touch. After your analysis, formulate a problem statement. Some elderly are afraid to be lonely. They want to stay connected. Step 3. Ideate. Now focus only on the problem statement and come up with ideas that solve the problem. The point is not to get a perfect idea, but rather to come up with many ideas, like unique virtual reality experiences, senior-friendly hoverboards, or a modified pushcart. Whatever it is, sketch up your best ideas and show them to the people you are trying to help, so you can get their feedback. Step 4. Prototype. Now take a moment to reflect on what you have learned from your conversations about the different ideas. Ask yourself, how does your idea fit in the context of people's actual lives? Your solution could be a combination of a new idea and what is already being used. Then connect the dots, sketch up your final solution, and go build a real prototype that's just good enough to be tested. Step 5. Test. Now test your prototype with actual users. Don't defend your idea in case people don't like it. The point is to learn what works and what didn't, so any feedback is great. Then go back to ideation or prototyping and apply your learning. Repeat the process until you have a prototype that works and solves the real problem. Now you are ready to change the world or open shop. To experience design thinking firsthand, do the free virtual design thinking crash course from Stanford's D School right now. You will learn to design a new gift-giving experience. Find the link and a guide for facilitators in the description below. After you are done, share your experience and gift idea in the comments. To learn more about creative and critical thinking, check out our other Sprouts videos. And if you want to support our channel, visit
Thank you, Shireen. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, what are your thoughts as far as design thinking is concerned? What were the key things that you learned in this video? In the chat box, please. Chat box is very important because it tells me if you guys are with us, if you are getting it. Okay, so step-by-step approach, okay, to find the real issue. Okay, very good, very good. So there were 5 steps in this design thinking. So let's talk about them as well. So design thinking, we need to understand it is a frame of work. It is a frame of mind that sort of tells you as to how you reach a solution that is specifically designed for your end users. So there were 5 steps that were shared here. Let's look at them one by one. Can we have the 5 clicks, please? Okay, so first thing first, it starts with empathizing, as you have seen in the video. So empathizing means that that you have that pain in your heart for your customers, because whenever you are any solution that you are proposing, the objective is to help your customers or your clients or your students for that matter. So for example, those of you who are teachers, those of you who are working in the administration, the first and foremost thing is to empathize with the people who are going to be the end users. So that empathizing part is all about understanding people. What are their needs, what do they want. So for example, if you are a teacher and you are teaching, so you need to understand what are the needs of your students. Why do they want to learn a particular course? What do they expect from you as a teacher? Or say, for example, you are in the administration and your customers are your, for example, faculty members. So what are the needs of your faculty members? What exactly do they need to be successful? What are their goals? Why are they teaching, for example? So asking all of these questions would give you a better understanding of the people that you are trying to serve. So once we have empathized, then the next step is defining the problem. And you can connect the dots with the DMAC model as well, because in DMAC model, the first step is defining the problem statement. Similarly, it is the same here. Now you specifically define what is the problem statement that needs to be resolved. So for example, if you are a teacher, what is the problem statement? Maybe you could say that, the attendance is low. Maybe you could say that students are not that interested in that particular subject, or maybe there are some challenges that they are facing while attending your class. So whatever the problem is, you define it very clearly in a problem statement. So once you have empathized, you have defined, now you go into the third phase, which is the ideate phase or the ideation phase. Now, ideate phase is all about generating ideas. It's all about having the discussions. It's all about thinking in the box and out of the box wherever required. And now you are thinking about potential solutions. Okay. So if you again connect it with the DMAC model, so in DMAC model, we define, we measure, we analyze, and we improve. The fourth phase is improvement. That is actually somewhat connected with the ideation phase. You are thinking about solutions that could solve that problem. And during that brainstorming, you come up with multiple solutions. And then out of those multiple solutions, you may decide to go with one or two prototype solutions for that particular problem. So that brings us to the next phase, which is the prototype. So in prototype phase, if you are making a product, then you have to physically make that product. If we are not talking about a product, if we are talking about a service, then you have the opportunity to test run that particular solution with your potential customers. So let me give you an example. You are an administrator in UCA, and your task is to help the faculty members. They have a particular problem. You have identified the problem. You have thought about it. You have ideated. You have come up with multiple solutions. Now your prototype is your solution. So for example, you feel that faculty members are having challenges with managing, for example, certain classes during certain months. Now you want to help them solve that particular problem. And how are you going to do that? Maybe you have 2 or 3 ideas that, maybe we can try this or this or this. These are the 3 solutions. What you do is you test those 2 or 3 potential solutions with your faculty members. That is the prototype phase. And once you have done that test, you have offered them that particular potential solution, you ask them for their feedback. So for example, you have selected 3 professors and you gave one solution to each professor, all different ones. And now after 1 week or 1 month, you are asking for their feedback. Did that particular solution improve the results, or were they useless? So in the prototype, we are always talking about creation and experimentation. And then that leads us to the last phase, which is the test part. So now the user is testing it and giving you the feedback, and then the loop continues. Once you have received the feedback, you again go to the ideation phase. So you proposed a solution, and then you asked the audience for their feedback. They gave you feedback, and now you again started refining it. You again went to the ideation mode, and then again you create a prototype and then give it to your customers again, and they share their feedback again. So it is a continuous process until you reach a solution that is fit for that particular customer or that set of customers, and it meets their needs. So design thinking is this is the reason why it is very important, and it helps to make you think very clearly and to help you think critically. Let's go to the next slide and talk about it a little bit in a few more points. If we could have 5 clicks, please. All right. So in empathizing phase, we are developing a deep understanding of the challenges. That is our objective. Let's try to understand what is the objective. In the define phase, we are clearly articulating the problem that we want to solve, be it a product related or a service related. We particularly define it just as we defined it in the DMAC process. In the ideation phase, it's all about brainstorming potential solutions, selecting and developing your solution. So maybe you brainstorm, you come up with 5 solutions, then you again think out of those 5 solutions, what could be top 3 solutions, or maybe what could be top 1 solution. And once you have identified what could be potential solution or solutions, then in the next phase of prototype, you design it. Again, as I said earlier, it could be 1 prototype, it could be a set of prototypes. And then you test those solutions with your target audience. The key part is you test it with the target audience. So I cannot design something for the students and test it with the faculty. That's not going to work. Who is the end user? If the end user is your customer, if the end user is a particular student or a set of students, then prototype needs to be shared with them so that they can share their input. How do they feel about it? And then last, we test it, we improve it, and then the process continues. So this is basically a 5-step process to think critically and to come up with solutions. Before we go further, are there any questions as far as the design thinking 5 steps are concerned? Yes or no in the chat box, please, very quickly. Okay, are we all good? Should we go to the next item, please, if all is set? Okay, okay, perfect. Okay. All right, now let's talk about some more tools that are going to help us in this process. And remember that these are the tools that we could use anywhere that we want. We will be set off these tools that we'll be discussing with you one by one. And the idea is that you understand how these tools work. How are you going to use them? It all depends on your needs. These tools could be used in the DMAC methodology. These tools could be used while we are design thinking, and you will see the connection as we move forward. And my request to you all would be that whatever tool that we are discussing here, I would like you to think about it as to how and where we can use these tools. So let's talk about the first tool, which is called the voice of customer, or VOC in short. So what is voice of customer? So voice of customer is basically a tool that we use to collect customers' data, customers' information. What are some of the ways that we can use it, or how we can use these tools? Whenever we are doing any surveys, whenever we are doing any focus groups, any interviews, whenever we get any feedback from our customers, whenever we get any complaints from our customers, all of these data points are generally simply called voice of customer. And the idea is that we use these opportunities to learn about our customer. So for example, if we talk about data collection, focus groups could give you a great deal of information about what your customer wants. And if you can connect it with DMAC model, again, when you are defining a problem, it is very helpful to collect the data from your customers. Similarly, in design thinking, when you are empathizing with the customers, a very good way to collect that data is through these tools. So whenever you receive a complaint from your customers, be it your faculty, be it your teachers, be it your, for example, parents of your students, all of those are voice of customers. Use them so that you are able to improve the process. So you can use voice of customer in the define phase. You can use voice of customer in the empathize phase of design thinking. So are we clear what is voice of customer? It's very simple. Are we good with this? Yes or no in the chat box, please. Okay, perfect, fantastic. All right, let's very quickly go to the next tool. Then after voice of customer, we have another tool which is called include and exclude. And if any one of you has worked in, probably this is one of the tools that you might have used in one way or the other in somewhere in your life. So what is include and exclude? So include and exclude is another tool which helps you to define a problem statement and, ideally speaking, set the boundaries of the project. So for example, we are talking about improving something. It is very critical that we define the boundaries of that improvement, because if we do not set the boundaries, then we would never be able to conclude a thing. So let me give you one simple example. If we talk about, say we are talking about designing a workshop on critical thinking, it is very important that we define what will be included, what will be excluded, what are some of the things that we can do, what are some of the things that we can't do. Why this is important? Because it sets the expectations very clearly. It is not going to be physical, it is going to be virtual. It is going to be 3-part. It's not going to be a full day, it is going to be 3-part, 2 hours each. We can do these things, we can't do these things. We can't have participants be in one single room to do a particular task. We can have participants who can share their responses in the chat box. So what can be done, what can't be done, it needs to be defined from the very beginning. And that is the idea behind this tool, include and exclude. It's a very simple tool. Again, you can use it in the define phase as far as the DMAC is concerned, or in the empathizing phase when you are trying to resolve a customer's issue using design thinking. So there are 4 things that we need to keep in mind. So as you can see in the picture below, we have the include part and the exclude part. Include column, exclude column, and then we have these 4 questions: what, where, when, and who. So just to give you an example, as we have shared here, so we are talking about, say for example, what are we talking about? Hiring from within the country, which is included. What is excluded? Hiring from abroad. So we are talking about a project where we are focusing on hiring people. So in the include and exclude part, we are explicitly defining that, you know, hiring would be from within the country. This is included. Outside the country is excluded. So we'll be not talking about that. Where it is going to happen: head office, regional office included. Zonal office are not included, they are excluded. We are not hiring people for zonal office. We are only hiring people for head office and regional offices. Okay, when? What is the deadline? When do we need to finish this? This is the particular deadline which is included. And what is excluded? For example, launch timings, financial closing timings. We cannot do this activity in July, for example, if our fiscal year sort of closes there. Or we will not be doing it during national holidays or a seasonal holidays period. So what is included, what is not excluded, what is excluded, and then who are we going to hire? So for example, grades 2, 3, and 4. And what is excluded? Grade number 1 is excluded. So this just gives you a picture. This helps you to clarify the things for your audience. Now you must be thinking that, you know, this is a very simple tool. There's no rocket science involved, and you are absolutely right. Critical thinking, as we have been sharing, we have been discussing over the last 2 sessions, that critical thinking is all about asking the right questions. So think about it. Whatever we are discussing, whatever tools that we have discussed so far, and whatever tools that we'll be discussing after this one, a lot of those tools are very simple. And the only way to use them, the only objective to use those simple tools is to help you think in a structured manner where required. So include and exclude is another very powerful tool. It is a very simple tool, but it sort of puts everything in the boundary so that you are absolutely clear as to what you want to achieve. Because if we do not use this tool, things may go out of our hands. So does it make sense? Yes, no? In the chat box, please, before we go to the next one. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask. All right, perfect, perfect. So let's move to the next next item, please. Okay, another very interesting interesting tool that we can use for thinking critically and otherwise as well. It is called the anti-solution. It's a very good tool. It's a very good tool, very interesting tool. Now, as you can see from the word, it is anti-solution. So we are not talking about solution. We are talking about the anti-solution. So the idea is that, you know, at times whenever we are stuck with a problem, we are stuck with a particular mindset, with a particular set of looking at things. In order, at times it is very helpful to look at the problem from a different perspective. And just the change of perspective could help us come up with better solutions. So anti-solution is a way of thinking where we don't think about solution, we rather talk about the problem. So how does this work? The way it works is that you first identify a problem statement. So for example, you say that, you know, the problem statement is that our customers are churning from our university. a lot of students take admission, and after a semester or two, they leave, they quit. So for example, this is a problem statement. Now, the typical way of coming up with solution would be that how can we reduce it? How can we make sure that our students don't leave UCA? Now, that is a typical way of thinking. Anti-solution talks about a very different approach. It says, how about we think negatively instead of thinking positively? So let's say now our objective is not to help students stay with us, rather our objective is to make students leave us. So how can we enhance the problem that we already have in hand? How can we make the problem even worse? And we think about all the negative things. So for example, you would say, okay, we have an organization. We are, say for example, we are making 50% profits today. The problem statement is that, our profits are very low. It is on 50% today. Anti-solution would say that don't think about increasing your profits, rather think about decreasing your profits. So what can we do to decrease our profits? So I'm running an organization and I am asking my team members, how can we reduce our profits? How can we destroy our company? And people would come up with multiple solutions. Okay, how can we destroy our company? All right, stop paying people on time. Okay, very good. What else? Don't hire competent people. Okay, very good. What else? Don't take care of your customers. Okay, very good. What else? Don't come on time. Those of you who are working. Okay, very good. What else? Don't attend customers' calls. Don't respond to them. All right. So now we are talking about all the negative things that could destroy our organization. And then at the end, once we have done this brainstorming, we have talked about all the negative things that we can do to create more problems for our organization. At the end, we talk about these are the things that we should not do. Try to understand the idea behind this anti-solution. The idea is that, generally speaking, it is human nature that we can easily think about the negatives, and it is difficult to think about the positives. It is very easy to think about problems. It is comparatively difficult to talk about solutions. So at times when we are stuck, when we do not know the way forward, this is a very good way to look at things from a different perspective. You think about the problem, you talk and brainstorm about worsening the problem, and then at times it gives you a fresh perspective that you were missing earlier. So think about it. This is another tool that we could use in that process. Does it make sense? Yes, no? Are we clear? What do we need to do here? If there are any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay. All right, perfect. Let's go to the next one, please. Okay, so now this is what I would like you to do now that you have understood this concept. Let's use it. Let's try to use it. So next 10 minutes, what I would like you to do is think about just give me a second, please. All right. So as we talked earlier about anti-solution is when we when we look at the problem and we think about how can we worsen it. So next 10 minutes, what I would like you to do is think about UCA and come up with anti-solutions that would stop UCA from thinking critically. What are some of the things that we can do in UCA to stop people from thinking critically? This is what I want you to do. Think about it individually. If you want to do in groups, that is entirely up to you. And list down 5, 6 things. What are some of the things that we can do that would stop UCA and its employees from thinking critically? Are we clear what we need to do? Yes or no? If there are any questions, please do ask. Yes or no, please. Do you have any questions? Or are we clear what needs to be done here? Yes or no, please. I am awaiting your response. Are you guys with us? Are you awake or asleep? Okay, so 10 minutes, think about what are some of the things that we can do to stop critical thinking in UCA. What are some of the things that we can do in UCA that will stop people from thinking critically? I'll see you in 10 minutes, and then I would like you to share your answers in the chat box. 10 minutes, see you in 10 minutes, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen, are we done? Okay, so we have started receiving your answers. Okay, let's hear from you in the chat box, please. Okay, so we have response: stop, developing and improve its annual plans. Okay, stop, develop and improve annual plans. Okay, very good. No more public lectures, individual trainings. Okay, very good. Abolition of evaluation and appraisal forms. Okay, very good. Okay. Lack of cooperation with other educational institutions on national and international levels. Okay, very good, very good. And encourage the staff who always agrees with manager's decision. Very good. I like it. I like it. Or better, giving them promotions who always agree with the managers. Okay. Partial engagement or no engagement in academic partnership initiatives with other schools in the region. Okay, very good. To pay less attention to IT security awareness among faculty, members and staff. Okay, very good. To stop raising more funds for scholarship endowments. Very good, Zabardast. To invest less funding facility maintenance. Okay. To stop employing foreign faculty members. All right, very good. Stop learning and development trainings. Okay, very good. Don't create or approve the UCA budget. Okay, very good. Cancel all internal policies, fire top management. Okay, very good, fantastic, fantastic. Some of the great responses that we have seen here. And the idea is that whatever you have shared, these are exactly the things that we should not do in UCA. And that is how we will create an environment where people can and will think critically. So very good. Thank you very much for your responses. Let's move to the next item, please. Okay, so another very interesting tool, it is called Pokayoki. It is basically a Japanese word, and Pokayoki is basically any mechanism that either prevents a mistake from happening or sort of makes it visible when you do it. So, for example, while you are filling an online form, for example, just to give an example, and if you by mistake if you leave one of the boxes that is very important, that is necessary, and you go at the bottom of the form and you click next, it stops you from going to the next slide, next page, and it tells you that you have not entered correct information in that particular form. That is an example of Pokayoki. Another example, so anything which stops the error from happening or makes it visible. Those of you who use MS Excel, Microsoft Excel, when you put a formula in any box, you can set certain instructions, you can set certain criteria that if the data is not valid, it is going to give you a prompt response that you are making a mistake. So that is another example of Pokayoki. Another very simple example, if there are any doors in the room that you are sitting right now, are there any doors in the room that you are sitting right now? Yes or no in the chat box, very quickly. Are there any, do you see any doors near you where you're sitting right now? Come on, yes or no in the chat box. Okay, very good. Look at that door and tell me, is there anything in that door which stops an error from happening? Just look at that door and see, is there any Pokayoki? Is there any system? Is there any mechanism in your door that is stopping an error from happening? Can you have a look at the door and tell me in the chat box? Okay. The lock, all right. Think about something else, please. Look at the door and think, is there anything on that door which is preventing an error from happening? Okay, the locking system. What else? What else? I want you to think before I give you the answer. Look at the door look at the door very critically. A door handle, okay. Okay, exactly, Shireen, you are absolutely right. The door stopper, what is the door stopper's job? Why do we have that door stopper installed on our doors? Because it prevents the door from being damaged. So the door stopper, be it the electronic one that sort of closes the door very softly, or the other one which is locally used in different parts of the world, the idea of a door stopper is to prevent the door from being damaged. Very good, very good. Okay, let's go to the next slide and see some of the examples of Pokayoki. So look at all the pictures that we have here in this slide. And all of these are examples of pokayoki. So if you see the first picture, the correct type of power socket, so you cannot enter any other kind of power socket in that particular socket. The next one is a floppy disk. If any one of you are old enough to know what is a floppy disk or what used to be a floppy disk, how many of you know what used to be a floppy disk? Does anyone know what a floppy disk is or was? In the chat box. All right, very good, very good. So those of you who know what a floppy disk is or was, you remember that there is only one way to put the floppy disk in the reader. Yeah, 3.5 and then the bigger one as well. So the idea is pokayoke stops you. You cannot enter the floppy disk when you try to insert it the wrong way. It will not go inside. That is another mechanism that stops you from doing that error. Similarly, if you go into shopping malls, you might have seen these stop signs, which is in the third picture. You can see it sort of informs the customers that, you know, maybe the floor is wet, or how high or what is the height of a particular clearance. That is another example of pokayoke. Then if you see at the last picture, there are different sort of plugs that you can use. So for example, USB drives, the USB drives that you use, you can insert it in the laptop in the correct manner only. If you try to insert that USB drive in your computer the other way, it will not go, it will not work. So anything that stops an error from happening or making the error visible is called pokayoke. Now pokayoke is a tool which is used in different industries. You can use it during the DMAC process. You can use it while you are design thinking. The idea is that whenever you are creating a solution for your customers, make sure that that solution includes something which would stop the error from happening, or if the error has happened, it would indicate then and there. Now, I would like you to take 2 minutes, think about some of the other things that you see in your house, in your office, which sort of depicts this thinking, this pokayoke mechanism. Can you think of any other things around you in your office, in your home, that uses pokayoke? I would like you to take 2 minutes, think about those things, and share with us in the chat box. Any other examples of pokayoke from your personal lives, professional lives? Take 2 minutes and think about it. Let me share one example right here. Let me show you one example right here that may sort of help you to think more clearly. Any item that stops an error from happening or makes it visible. Let me show you again. All right, so this is just one of the examples. Let's see if you can think of any other examples. Shireen, thank you very much. A very good example. I like it. Let's see what other people could also share. Okay, one last minute, if you could think of anything. Otherwise, we'll move to the next one. Maqsad, absolutely right. That is another very good example. The circuit breaker, absolutely correct. Very good, Gulru. Another lovely example, the microwave that prevents them from running when the door is open. Absolutely correct. Yes. I like that you have started thinking and you can connect the dots. Very good. Thank you very much. Fantastic responses. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, please. Now that we have understood what Poka-Yoki is, let's try to use this tool as well. So what we have to do here, if we could have two clicks, please. Okay, perfect. So if you remember, in the first session, we asked you to think about a problem statement from University of Central Asia, and think if we can use DMAC model to improve that particular solution. How many of you remember that? Those of you who were present in the first session, we asked you to identify a problem where we could use DMAC methodology to make the things, to improve the things in UCA. Does anyone remember that? Any one of you who were present in the first sessions, please? Yes or no in the chat box, please. Okay, so we have just one person who was present in the first session. It's absolutely okay, no problem at all. What I would like you to do is a very simple thing, because I think most of the people were not present in the first session. So the idea is that think about a problem in UCA, specifically to your department. If that is what you want to do, that would be great. Think about a problem that you want to resolve in UCA, and think if DMAC model could help us improve that. Number one, can we use DMAC model? Can we use the methodology of define, measure, analyze, improve, and control to improve a particular thing in University of Central Asia, depending upon your particular department? Number one, yes or no, if we can use DMAC. Number two, can we use Poka-Yoki in that particular scenario so that the solution that we have come up with is going to stay there, it is going to implement it. So think about it. Take around 15 minutes. Identify one problem statement that is related to your particular department. Once you have identified the problem, think of the DMAC methodology. Can DMAC methodology be implemented? If you think yes, DMAC methodology can be implemented, the last thing you need to do is the third phase, which is to identify, can there be any Poka-Yoki included in that solution? So first thing first, identify a problem statement related to your particular department. Number two, think, can DMAC methodology be used? Number three, can we include a Poka-Yoki system that helps in maintaining or sustaining the solution that we have come up with DMAC? So are we clear what we need to do? Three things: identify a problem statement related to your department. Number two, think, can we use DMAC methodology, which is define, measure, analyze, improve, and control to improve services or product in UCA? And number 3, what could be a potential Poka-Yoki included in that solution? So these are the 3 things that I would like you to do in next 15 minutes. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask. All right. Yes, Gulzina, it was in the second session, my bad. In the second session, we talked about DMAC. So considering that example in mind, these are the 3 things that needs to be done. Are we all good? Do we understand what needs to be done? Yes or no in the chat box, please. And if you have any questions. All right, perfect then. 15 minutes. See you back in 15 minutes with your answers. Thank you. If you have any questions, I am available here. Okay, very interesting from Maqsad. He's talking about reducing the bureaucracy at UCA, the DMAC steps that he suggests are defining the problem is receiving complaints from staff for softening the approval process. Okay, measure, where did it go? Measure. Okay, the steps for approvals done in an exaggerated manner. Okay, analyze lack of transparency and or trust between the higher, middle and lower management. Okay, improve, reduce the power of higher management to expand the power of lower management. Okay, control, to start the process of M&E to identify, measure and eliminate the issues occurring during the approval process. Okay, Poka-Yoki, he believes that automation of the new approval process by implementation in SAP to eliminate the risk of self-appraisal and make sure that all approvals are done in correct and timely instance manner. Okay, very good, very good. Anyone else from the audience who would like to share their findings? All right, I believe that this is the answer that we have so far. So my request to all of you is that I do understand that 15 minutes is not sufficient time for this kind of activity, but the idea here is just to give you a run through of how this process can be used. I would strongly recommend that once you go back from this session, meet with your team members, especially those who have attended the session. And even if those who have not attended this session, they could come, sit together, understand the concepts, and then work on it as a team. Because the idea is that these tools are only going to produce results when you use them time and often again. So I would humbly request all of you to redo the exercises that we have suggested here. Be it the SWOT analysis that you did earlier, we would request you to do the same thing with your teams. Then the DMAC activity that we did in the second session, again, do that. And now this time when we talked about Poka-Yoki, again, come together, discuss these things with your team, and then block around, say for example 30 minutes for this particular activity, block 30 minutes from your schedule and use these tools to come up with a solution that is going to improve things at UCA. So this is my request to all of you moving forward. Please do use all of these tools. Let's go to the next one. We have almost completed our content. but this is very, very, very important part. I believe and I'm sure that you were taking notes throughout these sessions. So now I would request you to take another 10 to 12 minutes and go through all the tools and the contents and the ideas that we have discussed in these 3 sessions. Rather take 15 minutes and identify, make sort of a roadmap or make sort of a mind map that sort of depicts the learnings from these sessions. So take 15 minutes, take out all those older notes, the presentations that were emailed to you guys, have a look at them and share your key learnings at the end of that 15 minutes. So 15 minutes, recap whatever we have covered, whatever tools that we have discussed, and then share with us what were your key learnings from this series of 3 sessions. 15 minutes. If you have any questions, I am here. Take 15 minutes and let's have a recap after 15 minutes. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. All right, so let's see, what did you come up with in the chat box? Very quickly, we have got one response from Daler. He shared about the interruption in the ATM machine near UCA, and very nice example that he has shared. I would request all who are in the chat box to read his response, and let's hear from you in the chat box. What were the key learnings for you as far as this series of workshops are concerned? Please share what were the key learnings for you in the chat box. Let's hear from you. Chat box is the only way from where we would know if you are with us, if you have learned anything, if you are awake. So please do share your responses in the chat box. Okay, so we have got a response from Maqsad. He says, thoughts, words, action, habits, character, and destiny. Very good. 6 thinking hats, SWOT thinking or SWOT analysis, and DMAG. Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Maqsad. Let's hear from others as well. What did you learn? What were your major takeaways from these sessions? Okay, we have got response from Gulzina. Comfort zone, growth mindset, SWOT analysis, thinking is all about questioning. Yes, very good. DMAC and 6 thinking heads. Okay, perfect, Gulzina. Thank you for sharing your key learnings with us. Let's hear from others as well. All right, we have got another response from Daler. I have learned how different things in our personal and professional lives may affect people in many ways. Okay, very good. Particularly, I like the way how people need to go for using various methods and approaches to identifying problem and help us resolve these issues. Okay, these useful resources, 6 thinking hats, the MAC model can help us build a better understanding of our professional environment we work in. Okay, very good. Thank you. Rashid says 6 thinking hats and DMAC method. All right, very good. So thank you all of you for sharing your key learnings. We have concluded the content. Definitely Shireen is going to request you to share your feedback with us later on. My humble request to all of you, please do go through these slides once again. Once you are back in your office, do give another thought sit with your colleagues, share the key learnings, and identify how can we improve things in our own lives, in our own sphere of control, things that are in our own sphere of control, our department, our house, our own lives. So a lot of these things could help us improve our quality of life as well. So I hope that you found these sessions useful, and I hope that you are going back with something that is going to help you become a better professional. So with this, thank you very much, Shireen, and the entire team of UCA for arranging the series of workshops. And I look forward to your feedback so we could improve these things for future as well. So thank you very much, Shireen, and over to you.
Thank you, Sahib. We had asked for one session and you were very generous with your time and knowledge, and you gave us 3 and 2 hours each. It's a lot of time commitment, especially for all the content development along with the presentation. So we totally appreciate your sharing of your time and knowledge, and we look forward to hearing more from you on maybe other topics in the future. For the participants, I just wanted to share that we will be sharing the recording of this session as well via email. You'll get the recording link, and then it will be uploaded on the UCA YouTube channel as well, along with the PDF of today's presentation that will be shared via email. Like Sahib mentioned, there will be a feedback form, and I would request all of you to please fill it out honestly and genuinely. Give us your feedback so we could improve on future sessions, content delivery, anything that you have to offer in terms of feedback. Please be open and honest so we could kind of continue with something like this in the future as well. And with that, thank you so much, all the participants and Sahib, and we will inshallah see you next time. Take care.